The explorer of the South Seas, Captain James Cook, once found himself in a strange, exotic land, a place we now know as Australia. He was curious about everything around him, in particular the animals hopping about with pouches on their bellies. He asked one of the natives, whose language he did not understand, what these creatures were called. The man replied, "Kangaroo." He repeated, "What do you call them?" Again the man said, "Kangaroo." Later on, when they deciphered the language of the natives, they discovered that the word kangaroo means "I don't know." Yet that word stuck, and that is the word we use to the present day for those beautiful hopping creatures. Words are a beautiful thing. Language is a beautiful thing, but it can lead us into a lot of misunderstanding. The friends of Jesus were filled with the Spirit of God, so that when they spoke, everyone understood, no matter their language. That would be like me speaking in Mandarin, with all the Italians and Norwegians understanding every word I said. In that Pentecost miracle, the apostles received something extraordinary that pointed to something very ordinary found in the heart of every person filled with that same Spirit. For in the God-filled heart is a power beyond words, a power of understanding, a Spirit uniting us to one another and to God. Beyond all language differences, beyond all differences of character, beyond all differences of age or culture or race or mindset or belief, that Spirit of God links us all together, surpassing all words. I myself am very fond of words, and I spend a great deal of my life working with them in several languages. I am grateful to have been given the precious key of language, and so have been able to read some of my favorite books, even though they have never been translated into my own native tongue of English. Had I not received this key, those books, that knowledge, that information would have remained forever locked to me. I also spend a great deal of my life speaking, as now, with words, and I appreciate the beauty and wonder of language. Yet some of my favorite films are the old-fashioned, silent ones. Those films from the era of long ago, when they didn't even speak on the big screen. My favorite film is the very first Academy Award winner from 1927, a film called Wings, which deals with the lives of the fighter pilots of the First World War and portrays the beautiful friendship between two of them, played by Buddy Rogers and Richard Arlen, with little Clara Bow thrown into the mix. It is a fabulous film, portraying deep emotions, but completely without words. All you hear when you watch these silent films is perhaps the theater organ playing in the background. By the end of the 1920s, these films were going out of fashion because they had invented the talkie. And not everybody welcomed the advent of the talkie, however, and even Thomas Edison said, "All this noise and all these words on the screen will never take the place of the wonderful acting that we had in these old silent pictures." There may be some truth in that. Back in those days, they didn't need special effects. They didn't even need dialogue. Yet they were able to communicate the deepest human feelings without any of that. By the end of 1928, it was seen that no one could make a successful film without dialogue, without words, because the new fad had taken root. People wanted to hear words. At that time, a film was being made by the name of The Shop-Worn Angel, starring a very young Gary Cooper. It was a silent film, but by the end of the production, the producers realized that they would not be able to sell the film unless they introduced words and made it into a talkie. So suddenly, at the very end of the production, Gary Cooper was handed a script. He tells us, "I was given this thing called a dialogue, and I learned it perfectly." Well, it wasn't much of a dialogue. It was a 1-hour film, and the first 59 minutes and 45 seconds were in complete silence. But the last 15 seconds of the film showed a wedding ceremony, during which Gary Cooper said, "I do," and the leading lady said, "I do." And those 4 words made it a talkie and made it successful. I do. For some, these are powerful and life-changing words. I am very grateful to those old teachers of mine who taught me language skills. In particular, I am very grateful to old Sister Adelgundis, who in high school taught me my first foreign language, something I have used often since then. Yet I think back with even more gratitude to those people who taught me to communicate without words. I think back to when I was in South America some years ago on an island in Lake Titicaca. It was absolutely freezing, and I took refuge for the night in the simple hut of an old native woman. This woman didn't speak a word of Spanish or anything else I knew, yet we were able to communicate without words, one heart to another. She sat around the fire, cooking up a big pot of soup to serve me, and knitting woolen things to keep warm. There were no words between us, there couldn't be. But through her smile, through her demeanor, through the love and the Spirit of God in her heart, she communicated with me in a way that no words ever could have. And we were able to find there that silent communion of souls, which only the Spirit of love can give. The American author and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson once traveled to Europe to meet the great authors living there. He particularly wanted to meet Thomas Carlyle. Carlyle was a famous writer, but he was known to be a difficult man, a very reticent man who did not like to speak much. When Emerson arrived at the writer's house, he was handed a pipe to smoke. Carlyle himself lit up his own pipe, and the two of them sat there looking at each other and smoking, without saying a single word the whole evening. When it came time to go to bed, the two men got up, cordially shook hands, and congratulated each other on the very fruitful evening they had just passed together. There is a power beyond words. Let us be grateful for the wonderful gift of language and words. But let us seek that other power that far surpasses words. This gift, this Spirit, was given to the apostles in an extraordinary way, that they could spread the good news of God in a way that everyone could understand. Many centuries later, St. Francis of Assisi was able to grasp this and to instruct his followers, preach always the good news, and when necessary, use words. Let us rekindle that gift of Pentecost in our own hearts. That power which transcends words, overcomes the barriers of language, transcends all differences between human hearts. Let us rediscover that Spirit deep within ourselves, the powerful, penetrating, silent Spirit of God, which is beyond all words.